I don't want to be at that nice meal that they have after this, you know, where it's like, I really owned you, didn't I? You know, like a little cheeky wink or whatever, like that. Oh, it would be lovely.
I just, you know, Reynor tweeted it 4 hours ago. Playing versus my roommate today. If he wins, I'm kicking him out. So even more of an awkward conversation. Let's get into the introductions. Game number one, going to go on Oceanborn. Top left, we do have our red Protoss, SKillous for Team Liquid.
And spawning over the bottom right, representing Team Basilisk, it is Reynor. Yeah, this is a cool one. Like, Reynor's almost become part of the old guard of Europe in the way that, like, you know, he's one of the top 3 dudes. 4, maybe, if you bring Max Pax into the mix now, but yeah, absolutely. And he's constantly been tangoing with the likes of Serral and Clem. And SKillous is absolutely one of those guys that is on the up and up. Like, he can get a bit nervous, a bit shaken. He's an emotional guy. But ever since he found his footing and, you know, joining Team Liquid and what have you, he's found more consistency in his play. Like, him going up against the likes of a Showtime back in, you know, a year ago, so I'd be like, okay, Showtime's definitely the favorite. Now I kind of feel it's flipped a little bit, and SKillous is absolutely a player that I think belongs to that top 8, top 12 echelon of Europe, and he has been able to take down some of the big boys these days.
Absolutely. SKillous is more consistent at a higher level than ever before, I think it's fair to say. But it was in 2020, which we saw him spike. Kind of an uncontrolled talent outburst, skill outburst that was stopped basically a lot because of his emotions you're talking about. He got very, very nervous heading deeper into the season, the regionals and playoffs that we were having back in that weird time that was COVID. And then I really had to work on that. Obviously, a lot of other things happened in that time frame, but SKillous has become one of the most consistent PvPers. You know, I think every now and again, it's really a toss-up as to, like, who's number 3, but then SKillous is almost always the number 3rd. Max Pax and Showtime being 1st and 2nd, by the way. And then there's sometimes that, like, okay, is he actually 2nd in PvP? Because Showtime can fall to him, Max Pax can fall to him. And then his other matchups can also definitely, they can spike, as he took down, you know, Serral in the Team League. But they can also get more and more consistent as the years have gone by. And with Reynor displaying some weakness versus Hearthstone, the patch apparently doing good things for Protoss in this matchup, and SKillous just generally more stable and better than ever before, that's the magic ingredients that I was talking about that makes this a not so obvious series. I'm excited for it. I made myself excited. But Reynor, as you said, when he really wants to win, he does usually win.
Yeah, he knows when to peak. It's a very useful talent to have. This game, he did get a big scout off on that Stargate as well, seeing what it was producing even, so that Zergling definitely came in handy. On the other side of things as well, Reynor did boot up a good chunk of Zergling, so he's not going to hopefully suffer too many losses against some random adepts that can fly in. The early Zealot here, coming out as like the 3rd unit. I don't know if that's SKillous just faking his opponent or actually wants to get out the Zealot. Okay, it will be the guy in the wall, then gets to use his adepts out on the field, or getting up the 3rd base. But Reynor, ready to greet it, but wow, timing on that Oracle.
It's very good. Yeah, looks the Zealot, just that cheap cost of holding the line, holding the wall. Trains for 100 years, that's what he does, literally. And he does it well. Good job, little Zealot. The Adepts, making sure to shade back, chase after the Lings, push them away totally and entirely as the Oracles, so they get back to also doing their own harassment and scouting. Reynor definitely not a stranger to doing some types of all-ins and cheeses. They do still exist, but we do seem to be setting ourselves up for a macro game. Forge coming out now for SKillous. We also should be adding on another tech structure. Yes, the Robo coming down as well.
I'm always so impressed with some of these Zergs where they just start pulling units like way before anything happens, like just to avoid damage at all costs kind of thing. Like you saw from Reynor there. He had the Spore come in, he had Queens in position, but still keeping those drones alive is the most important thing. And all the movement so far from Reynor has been really good. And even though he's making this look easy right now, he's just making sure that nothing happens, and he's making it look easy rather than it actually being easy.
Definitely seen some display of actual weakness from Reynor before, you know, in a tournament, I suppose. Everyone has their ups and downs, metas evolve and maps change and blah, blah, blah. But there's always that question of whether or not Reynor actually has suddenly become a little bit weak to a certain thing, or if he was just kind of like, oh, you know, oh, and then he loses or doesn't do as well as he hoped, and then he's going to go really, really hardcore. And I feel like SKillous gained Ruan this best of 5 so soon after Reynor almost lost to Harsum. It's going to be that test for us. Like, is he facing the Reynor who actually might be a little bit worse versus Protoss than we expect? Or is he now facing the Reynor who is just like, oh, that should never have happened. I should never have gotten that close to losing. Let's just play perfectly from here on out. Because his queen movement really has been spectacular. His Lings just barely not getting that surround, so a couple of drones will go down, but nonetheless, Reynor already on his 72 drones, to get 75, +1 missile halfway done, and looking to macro up very nicely. 3 oracles continue to be denied, not finding any damage, and once again taking some hull damage themselves.
Yeah, I mean, 2 drones for everything that's happened so far in a 6-minute game. Reynor's absolutely going to be feeling good about that. And SKillous, he's getting charge booted up, +1. He's going to be up to like 8 or so gateways pretty soon, which is a decent number. But still, you want to slow down a Zerg, and Reynor does play that kind of style where he wants to consume the map as quick as possible, just throw wave after wave at you. And right now, he hasn't been able to slow him down whatsoever. This is starting to turn a bit scary for SKillous as time goes on. There we go. That was a little bit of damage there from these oracles.
Yeah, the oracle's finally finding something and still alive as well, but I saw 3 overseers, then it was 4, and then he canceled 1. I'm wondering what their little plan is. Is it 3 for all of the technology? It, I guess in this case, could be like Storm +2 and Robo production. Contaminate, obviously, is what I'm thinking of. It's very specific, and they're heading off like a raven, you know?
It's very, yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm glad you clued into that. Like, I do know that players have spoke about when to get a second forge and stuff, and players do go for a second forge in this matchup when feeling a little bit more comfortable and whatnot, but very interesting. Even getting the Phoenix now at this point in time is also curious, right? Like, these guys are roommates. Are these Phoenix purely to shut down these overseers at some point? I don't know. There's definitely something going on here that I'm not 100% aware of.
Yeah, I think you're right, though, because that Phoenix positions itself in a very anti-run-by or fly-by. Like, it's... I don't know what else I'd expect this like timing of Phoenix to do, to be fair, though. Besides just wait for mutas that actually aren't coming in this game, but I guess could. But it is very interesting indeed. Okay, let's see if this is supposed to time out well. We got Overlords coming in here with their speed. They drop creep. Queens come in for a maxed out push of Roach, Ravager, Queen, and the Overseers. I am still eagerly awaiting them to do something. Nothing so far.
I mean, that Immortal is 39 out of 39 complete here. And if he is lining this up with this kind of all-in, this is absolutely the kind of game where he could chain that Immortal from ever popping. So you were spot on. It's absolutely working out that way. And that's a big, big Protoss army.
Yeah, but you're also spot on about the Phoenix trying to deter that from happening. Unfortunately, Roach Ravage on the front line still finding some, well, maybe some success. They killed the shield battery overcharge. But yeah, there were still 4 shield batteries behind it, plus a cannon for helpful static defense. Oracle still helping out. Phoenix having done the job of defending, I guess, as much as they could the main base, now come over to help out as well. I mean, SKillous is holding a very reasonable supply for this matchup right now, and the Warp Prism helping with the micro as well. Reynor having some trouble actually breaking this 4th base.
I mean, yeah, SKillous is sort of holding. I mean, shield battery overcharge is gone. Absolutely is. And these Ravagers, I mean, even though there's Immortals out now, that's a lot of Ravager, and they want to fight with you up against the wall. The Archons are getting dangerously low. I think they're both playing phenomenal here in this fight. Lots of Zealots being warped in, though. This could definitely help him out a lot against these juicy, juicy Ravagers.
Blink is maybe 30 seconds away from finishing, which sounds like a long time, and it absolutely is, but if it could help out in this fight whatsoever, that could be huge. Another shield by overcharge also finally available, basically guarantee that time to get to Blink, giving those Stalkers a lot more mobility and a little bit of a chase factor as well, should Reynor have to retreat and regroup, which is exactly what he's doing here, but SKillous got to take this time just to breathe, get more static defense, and of course, hope for another shield body overcharge. in quite a few seconds at this point, but maybe force fields, you know, stasis traps, things can come down to buy some more time. No Archons over this time around, and a little bit late to the Immortal. Warpers will make her go. The Stalkers did not blink very fast at all. Corrosive Biles hitting the majority of the Protoss army, and SKillous might just be too far down on the unit count. Just really Immortals at this point, but maybe Immortals and Warp Prism is all you need.
I mean, right now, like, SKillous is even getting counter damage done, which definitely slows down Reynor, but this creep spread zombie grub, it's at the base. Like, it's been a bit of a creep highway over here in the north, and it's not gonna miss in the middle either if this game does sort of settle down, but SKillous is weathering the storm, and that number of mortals, Reynor didn't want that number being out in the field at any point. Though that Contaminate hit squad wanted to avoid this, and now this army, 156 supply, is getting ridiculously stocky.
It's got the Archons now as well. 4 suddenly added on to the already impressive Immortal count. Warp Prism has been huge the entire time as well. Still active, and if it ever decides that it no longer is needed at home, could also help out with their harassment. It looks like SKillous has indeed weathered the storm. The time there to get the extra shield batteries, the, of course, impressive micro, all came together to hold on despite Reynor's clever overseer tactics, but Reynor trying to move on from this. He is, after all, on 80 drones, does need more bases, finds a couple of Immortals rallied out to the would-be 5th base. That's a big mistake there. 2 out of 3 of them go down. Still a total of 8 on the field with 4 Archons and 2 more on the way. I mean, this is just literally just Immortal Archon. Any Zealots he produces are either very desperate or they're used to run by.
Yeah, what a ridiculous kind of game we're getting ourselves into. Definitely a different PvZ, and many thanks to Reynor with this style that he pulled out, but also SKillous, he's holding. Like, very often you don't see Protoss being able to hold this, but 4 Archons being morphed in as well. His army composition is going to be 10 Immortals, 8 Archons. Like, that is so stocky.
Oh, he might just push with it too. I mean, even if the Mutas make an appearance, which obviously eventually they will, Reynor currently stalking them up though. I mean, SKillous might actually try and take the base trade, but it's obviously going to be very difficult when those do appear, if they do appear. 12 Mutas out in the field now. He's definitely moving on from that hive, and Lurkden on the way. The Mutas are going to look to buy some time because they won't be very helpful against 8 Archons looking to help defend. So it's all about buying time, maybe even pumping up your feathers to a certain degree. SKillous still working with some AI issues, or actually maybe trying to purposely set up a surround. You gotta be very careful. Immortals and Archons not known for their range, right? So kind of pairing up a big surround with them can be difficult.
No, I think like SKillous is trying to work his way across the map. Very hard to do from one angle and one angle only. The Mutas do reveal themselves now though, and SKillous is like, what the hell, Mutas? But he's getting Stargates, he's producing Phoenix, but now he feels his time is to go. And Reynor, with this amount of Ravagers, they need to land good files, but is SKillous going to allow it to happen? That's the question.
One set already did hit, the first set actually, helped kill an Archon, then he focus fired down another one, I believe. I think actually 3 in total have gone down in this push, and I'm just being so particular about counting because obviously they're the only anti-air that SKillous has available in case those Mutas come back. Reynor was prepared for this inevitable base trade. Spinecrawlers come up against Immortals. They can only buy so much time, but combo with the Corrosive Biles, that's what you do. You buy so much time, and you hope that maybe you can get to that Muta count that will win against what is now only 3 Archons on the front line. Make that 2. The Mutas could come back. And actually, they're deciding not to. They're tangling with the Phoenix.
I think the Mutas, like, he's even making more right now, and SKillous is switching into carrier amidst all this carnage, but there's more Mutas now on the defensive line, and Reynor will get to clean this up. Maybe? I mean, this is such a weird fight. The one Archon, 22 kills on that bad boy, and the Immortals, oh my god, the supply's neck and neck. Is SKillous going to make this happen?
The supplies are crazy close. The Immortals, so many of them had lost their heart and shield, but they were still so freaking tanky. They bust through the remaining spine crawlers. They're looking to kill the hive once again with their heart and shields up. Now the Archons back on the offensive. The Muta swap will not do the trick here today as the Phoenixes also come in, and SKillous will indeed take game number 1. Defends the attack from Reynor, does the push against the potential Muta swap, and in fact it was a Muta swap, but it was a good push to do. He actually handled that really well with such a peculiar army.
Oh my god, that was what a game. Like that, I think there was so many things that were so cool about that. Obviously the Contaminate hit squad and SKillous prepping for that nice and early, I thought that was really cool. Like maybe the Phoenix aren't the best unit to do it with, just because, you know, the light damage versus the heavy armor of the Overseers, it doesn't quite work out. But holy crap, that really came down to the wire between them. And SKillous held those early pushes really nice with the Warp Prism micro constantly. It was not easy by any means. Reynor did a good job of almost making the miracle happen to take down all the Archons and then the Mutas, but frick me, what a game. What a beautiful game.
That was certainly an interesting game of StarCraft too. I wonder if a Void Ray actually would have been more efficient, right? Because it kill them a bit faster.
Some stalkers, like kind of guarding.
Oh yeah, literally some stalkers.
Just a funny scenario, just seeing how it all unraveled and whatnot. Just
but I do think the Phoenix are a good addition, more so than a Void Ray or stalkers that might get locked in the main base. They don't have blink quite yet anyway, right? Because 3 Phoenix could help you against a potential Muta swap right afterward. And they also, I feel like they'd be a little more helpful in terms of defending that battle, just because a Void Ray is so just like plain Jane. Like it either is getting hit or it isn't. You know what I mean? Like Void Ray just feels like a glass cannon because it is. But Phoenix, a little more nimble, a little more microable. It's really like we definitely saw people who practice together and talk to each other about the game, facing off against each other and trying to one up each other's tricks.
Sorry, I started getting attacked by my cat with love, so she's proper clawing me and licking me right now. But yeah, we're going to be getting into the second map, and you beat your roommate in a really close game like that. Fortunately, I had Kevin as a roommate, so they were never that close. But it's always very, very pleasant. Nah, I'm kidding. But it's always very, very fun when you have like such a close game and you're both kind of metagaming one another as well. Just what a game between them. Spawning over in the bottom right-hand side here as our blue Zerg, it is Reynor.
Top left for Team Liquid, he is SKillous.
It's not often I see a game where I'm genuinely like up until the very end where I'm like, oh my god, who's going to win? Like, and it's definitely those games that get me all giddy and excited. and yeah, just seeing like an evolution of like strategy and stuff. I think the Contaminate stuff was freaking a wonderful idea as well, because it's like his army was all about getting maxed out real fast with a lot of Roach Rav, but the Overseers don't cost supply, and it's a pretty small investment to try and make that magic happen. And like, yeah, the first Immortal being 39 out of 39, a really, really cool play.
Reminder that there's still some things left to be played with and toyed around with in StarCraft 2. An Overseer Contaminate seems to be one of those ones that kind of comes back into fashion and then disappears. It's the kind of actually similar feeling I have to sometimes Baneling drops in this matchup actually as well, which obviously kind of got like a little bit buffed because the just plain old Banelings running on through got nerfed with the +2 no longer one-shotting, which, I mean, I kind of understand it, but then my opinion was that I just didn't feel like Zergs were really opting for it a lot more, and that's obviously easily argued that they didn't think it was worth it, but I felt like the Baneling drops, the trifecta, one overlord to the right, one overlord to the left, and then an attack to the middle, was almost always a good plan, was almost always worth the investment that you made with it. And then Contaminate as well, when we see it used a decent bit in a meta or by a particular player, I also get that feeling where it's like, this actually is really useful. And obviously there's downsides, how much gas you put into it versus a couple extra Ravagers, but it is definitely cool to see those additions, and then SKillous also trying to show a response to it, which maybe didn't work actually. The Phoenix did really struggle to stop that from happening, but continued development.
Yeah, it's like, I remember the first Zerg that was doing the Baneling drops like way long time ago. It was Morrow, like back in the day, which just goes to show how long ago it was. But like even Changeling blocks and people utilizing Burrow in funny ways. Like, I know I've seen games where a Changeling literally blocks like a little ramp or, something, and it's just potentially game winning. And obviously people remember Burrowed Baneling, such as Scarlet versus Bomber. I mean, immortalized in history, how things can get used, and who knows, that Contaminate kind of stuff could be absolutely next thing in the chain. I got to see like a lot of the roach drops as well today in the ZVZs and stuff, which seemed really cool and like an easier step to get to than the tunneling claws. But this game, totally different approach from SKillous here. It's going to be adept glaives being shown and no Stargate to speak of.
Absolutely not. So Reynor should have picked up on this basically already. I didn't catch the warp gate timing, but presumably it is. I feel like the amount of like fake that's worth it as far as the warp gate timing doesn't really matter so much anymore. It was like all the rage to catch if it was a fake or a double fake or something back in 2020 Katowice was it when it first appeared. But anyway, Reynor should have an idea that this is on the way, right? So you should be able to defend. The question is always how dedicated is it? 3 gate, 4 gate, 5, 6, 1 fish, 2 fish. But it's gonna be a Baneling defense here from Reynor, which I know is possible, but I am kind of so much more used to seeing the Roach defense.
I feel that the Baneling defense can all go awry very quickly, or it can slam it before it even got going, which is cool.
Yes, and counterattack.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Baneling defense feels so much more dark to me, and the Roach defense feels so much more Serral. Like, just different approaches. But again, they have varying strategies available. The Zergling count is indeed very high. SKillous has been probing a lot behind it. And Reynor, is he gearing up for what could be a counterattack with this? Because, I mean, you are vulnerable if you do go Adepts and you get no damage done.
Yeah, and then you're stuck at home, too. It's a bit harder to... I mean, actually, it's basically hard to be efficient against those Lings if they've been doubling down an army when you didn't account for it. As soon as you split the Adept away from the Banelings, then the Lings gets around, right? And then vice versa if you do it the other way. So it can actually be a tactic to use offensively, but the point really right now is that Reynor does have to kind of do something, because not that he's taking a lot of damage from the Adepts, but rather that, well, actually, oh, Jesus.
It happened.
Oh no. Well, to finish my thought was that SKillous was actually kind of puppeteering Reynor for a little bit right there, right? He had gone 3 gateway. He didn't have a robo for a warp prism with it. He went into a 3rd phase that was like really finely timed. And Reynor was losing out a little bit on the economy, but then he just slam dunked those Adepts and now can threaten SKillous' set economy.
Oh no. Oh my goodness, what is happening?
Oh. Well, there you go.
I love this game. This SKillous had a great game 1, but everything that could go wrong in game 2 just absolutely blasted. Banelings are great, I don't know what SKillous was looking at, but I mean, I saw Reynor with 2 groups of Lings on the map, so maybe one of those, and caught with his pants down there.
There are people in the world who are like, the Baneling was the greatest mistake in StarCraft 2. Can you believe that? What a terrible take.
I mean, it's definitely a unit that has caused so much destruction over the years. Like, the amount of carnage that they bring, and SKillous this game, I mean, he's wounded. He's wounded. He's marching along. He's the good old Black Knight, It's only a flesh wound. But yeah, he's feeling brutalized here. There's no skirting around that issue.
Weirdly enough, I could see him trying to make he absolutely could have been okay if the probes didn't die, is what I'm looking at right now. Like, he could have recovered. With the probes also dying, it's still very questionable whether or not he can recover. But I'm still looking at a scenario where I could believe it. If anything seems to be going well for the guy. But he moves out, he gets run by. His Warp Prism tries to do something, there's like 10 queens on its ass. Like, it doesn't seem to be going very well for SKillous. A chain of very unfortunate events that might just culminate here in a loss once he maybe all-ins. See 7 gateways on the way, 4th base doesn't seem to be an intense, but all-in or just straight up having to defend Reynor's eventual max out either way. I mean, Reynor's got the tools, he's got the playground, SKillous is the one that's going to have to be super sharp, and that did not help. Loses the Warp Prism.
Yeah, I'm just going to load up that Resources Loss app. Like, it's not meant to look like this in this matchup. It's really not. Even Workers Kill 15 for the Zerg, 0 for the Protoss. Like, the shoe has been on the other foot, like, this entire game. And yeah, a disaster for SKillous. And, I respect the fact that he's still staying in this game, just because, every game you have a chance. It's just, how many more things can go wrong for you in one single game of StarCraft 2?
Not much. Losing the War Prism was probably the last worst thing, the first worst thing of the, I don't know. It basically kind of just puts the nail in the coffin, I think. Because if this was hitting right now, or not even right now, if it was hitting 15 seconds ago with the War Prism warping in, I'd actually kind of be a believer in the army supply difference, which is very typical for ZVP. But now it's hitting now with the War Prism still just kind of coming in, and I have less faith due to that. Reynor has had the time to get maxed out. He's got all these queens coming in with transfuses to help buy more time, and he does have the mutas to once again come in if the Archons are all gone.
And he won't even need them, will he? I am with you, though. I'm kind of impressed by how scary this army initially looked, but it's also because a big investment for Reynor. It's not even involved in the fight. It's over in his main base now, shutting everything down from the inside out. And yeah, I mean, this definitely will be tied up, but you can absolutely see how the stars can align for this build of SKillous to make things happen, because yeah, it took a couple of disasters to get where we are right now.
Yeah, literally two big ones. SKillous, as I was trying to say, his control over the Zerg was about to be a problem. If Reynor wasn't going to do anything with all the lings that he had made, then his economy wasn't particularly impressive. And then SKillous, with the help of Defender's Advantage, a couple shield batteries, reinforcing units, probably would have been fine against any type of Ling-Baneling counter once the Adepts said, oh, I can't do anything, let's go back home. But the Adepts didn't say, let's go back home. They said, what are those green things? And then they touched them, and it all exploded. It all went to shit. And then that left a wide opening in the third base as well. So all the probes also are like, what's that green thing? And then they touched it, and then they all died. Hardly such a terrible sequence of events happens that often, but it does occasionally happen even to the best players.
It was, you know, as a guy that likes and is part of the 5-game day so far, I'm all for it, Zombie Grub, because, you know, the first game was maybe the best game of the day, honestly. Like, it really was cool. And we've had quite a few good ones. And that second game was just one of the most unfortunate series of events ever. But yeah, this is lining up to be a good one here. And PvZ, I'm excited for the future games as well, because that was SKillous getting slapped in the face many, many, many times. But you can see how things can happen and did happen in game one. That I'm, genuinely excited. And Reynor, he's not invulnerable in this matchup. He has been vocal about not enjoying Zerg's situation at the moment. And yeah, he's absolutely shown weakness in prior series as well. I think we're in for a good one here. What you get?
But, you know, Terrans maybe rightfully get the you know, we whine all the time, we complain all the time, because, you know, ladder Terrans, am I right? Ladder Terrans are pretty bad. But if I really think about it, I feel like the most outspoken people about, like, the state of their race have been Zergs. I think of someone who complains about something, and I do think of Zergs complaining about Adepts, for instance. Or complaining about their Banelings not one-shotting. Or how their Vipers killed their hatchery in 1 of 1,000 games, so then they have to consume less on it. Yeah.
Yeah. You're almost taking me with you. I don't want to be at you know, the firing line of the Sir Cabal. You know, not another Terran commentator going down. Oh my goodness! All right, spawning over in the bottom left-hand side as our blue Zerg over here. It is Reynor.
Be no more North American Terran casters left. The Zerg Cabal has anything to say. In the top right, we do have the red Protoss, SKillous.
No, but I'm with you. Like, how can they continue? You know, how can they continue? Like, the first GSL not won by a Terran in quite some time, and it's on this patch, and still they talk about fake nerfs. Jeez Louise, is there no shame?
I mean, just, you know, the upcoming lineup for Atlanta, just look how many Zergs there are as commentators. Just a heads up, guys. It's a little, you know, be on the hill at 12 o'clock to see, you know, JFK resurrected, whatever the heck those people were doing. Anyway, memes aside, SKillous Reynor. Great game number 1. Not so great game number 2.
So, I mean, great for me to have a little bit, like, I'm almost sad that the camera didn't quite get to follow those banelings as they chase those like shaded adepts, or what necessarily happened there. Yeah, I don't know how many adepts it was for like 6 banelings or something. It was perfect, but yeah, that catapulted him into that game, and then he just ran away with it. Alcyone is this one? Or
Alcyone.
Alcyone? Wow, that was totally off. Yeah, I actually thought I was going to nail it, and then it just... Okay, I was off.
No, I hate this one because it's the same pronunciation tempo as Hecate, Alcyone, Hecate, but it makes even less sense to me because like Hecate, I can kind of break it up like kind of like a Japanese wording kind of thing, but Alcyone, that does not compute with my English brain whatsoever.
No,
but I finally nailed it after a month of practicing.
Yeah, it's the whole Jagannatha thing, rearing its ugly head once again. But now they've dealt us a few wild ones. Alrighty. SKillous is back to Stargate. You know, game 2 wasn't what he wanted. You know, and he's like, you know what? Screw that. He was pretty good against that kind of stuff. And maybe I didn't play it the best, but did try and fake that he was going for the Stargate or what he was going afterwards. We saw a Zealot being made, and then it's the Stalker afterwards. So a far more normal textbook game here.
Yeah, I think it would be wise of SKillous to, you know, like threaten adepts. But when I see such a disaster like that happen, I feel like in my brain I'm thinking the only Protoss who would do it again is Hero.
Yeah.
He was like, that was an absolute catastrophe. That doesn't matter. I'll do better next time. Will you though? Okay, fine. You can try.
Mean, Hero is a master of looking like a genius in one game, and then in the same game looking like a numpty. You know, like he absolutely can do that. Like, and that's also a crazy cool talent to have. Because you know, I respect him a lot, even though sometimes he can make me question my sanity. This game, the Oracle will fly around a bit. It's hard to get damage done when you get like these triangular-based setups. And ooh, was that Reynor trying to go for a very quick gold over there with that?
Absolutely.
Wow, I mean, I think that's a really cool play by him. It's an incredibly fast fourth, but yeah, nice for him to keep the drone alive there against the Oracle.
Yeah, which, you know, SKillous should also presume, but you know, double check, verify, trust but verify. Oh, 6 drones for the Oracle death, which would be, I would think, worth it if the Lings were in SKillous' main base.
Yes, I actually think so too, but the combination of 2, better for Reynor for sure. Twilight Council will be the follow-up, and oh man, how did they get in there? I mean, I asked that, and as I was looking, that adept wasn't yet in that wall, so I'm like, okay, that's how they got in there. But just these little things, these little windows where knowledge is power, and that Overlord being there and just kind of spotting out when there is a gap, and Zergs with their fast units that are very cheap, you just constantly check, and the moment that your opponent isn't quite 100% on the ball there, take full advantage of it.
Yeah, and he did verify that is the 4th hatch at the gold. Now, I'm not sure if this actually changes SKillous' plan. I don't think it does. I think it just lines up with SKillous' plan, which is all ready to go for an offensive Stalker attack. We know that because of the total lack of Forge. It was only a Twilight Council as fast as possible. So it's also going to be one of those proxy gateway attacks, which I absolutely love. And I love that he's thrown it in here in a best of 5. And then being able to do it against your opponent's greedy 4th base is excellent. I mean, this actually should line up pretty freaking well, especially as the gateway and pylon have yet to be scouted. What is being scouted is perhaps the 3rd base probe count and gas count, of course, and the, you know, stalkers, so it's blink, right? But I don't even think that Reynor knows necessarily that the minerals are mined out next to SKillous' 3rd. In fact, he doesn't. So he might not be expecting anything on the right side, well, until it appears.
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying, or I was just thinking that Reynor's been very respectful about getting out a lot of units quickly and stopping drones at 57, which has been decent saturation, but these supply blocks that are coming in now, real damn hot, much thanks to these Stalkers. Lovely play with those 2 leading Lings there. We'll get nice little surrounds here on these Stalkers, and
wow,
honestly, he's shutting this down and making it look easy, and yet again,
Yeah, you know, I think SKillous was 100% depending on that stasis trap to be a little more effective. Just a little. Just, you know, 4 lings instead of 2. And then it's beautiful. Then it's a masterful play from the Protoss. If half of those lings get stuck in a stasis trap, the Stalkers don't die. Suddenly we're not at 13, we're at 20. And that's the snowball right then and there.
I love this with the lings as well. I thought they were going to do counter attack damage on this third, which they absolutely could, but he's kept them there. I think he was looking to fend off the fight and get the big wraparound and really kind of seal it shut, but this does just as much work, doesn't it? Lots of probes denied, killed, third base mining thwarted, and remember, look at the eco as well. He's just been all over this game, Zombie Grub, and he's about to hit +1 with the Zerglings as well against no upgrades. Like, that's going to make the situation even better for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, SKillous, I mean, being able to direct your pre-planned attack to a perceived degree, that's usually the ideal, but it wasn't like Reynor got the 4th base gold and up to 75 drones. And then if he did that, then absolutely he's vulnerable to the attack. No, he just got the gold base up on a very steady amount of drones. He's been droning up, actually, in the past 15 seconds that I've been talking, so it's even lower than that, but he has a gold base, so that still is a decent economy. And then he just had so many lings. I don't think he was surprised, and the way that he handled it with the micro and the stasis trap as well really combined the things he needed most, the actual units and then the actual use of those units. I mean, SKillous might still have a chance here, but it's looking like a very, very thin chance indeed, as Reynor's upgrades are finishing up +1 melee and even roach speed. Still has queens, could be adding on ravagers. SKillous needs to have some superb soccer micro.
So far, though, it's been pretty damn on point by him. Like, he's been shaving off these units, and he's microing very nice with that front line, but this is what Reynor needed. A little bit of a flank going in, but again, SKillous was decently prepared for this happening. Like, his supply is kind of sticking around this 117 mark. It's just Reynor's so rich behind it. SKillous is handling this very nicely.
He is. Actually, Reynor's having a larva problem. That is what's holding him back. He's been banking around 1,000 minerals for a while with hardly any larva. The queens have been pulled to the front lines and have missed injects, I suppose, and just frankly, a pure ling-based army, at least for the get-go, that's a lot of larva. That's hard to keep up with for anyone, actually. The Roach Ravager composition makes that a little bit easier, also a little bit sturdier, hoping to hold on to this high ground. But the lack of ling production has really allowed SKillous to get a second chance in this game. He might still be able to snowball.
Absolutely. It's not out of the woods just yet. As Reynor's even feeling like he has to do something drastic, launching a Baneling counterattack in the north. Not yet ready. Those are the Banelings morphing in over there. But we just got to remember, he's working with so much more economy right now. So much more that he can afford for this fight to continue. And behind it, even taking a 5th base over in the south there. I mean, monstrous play out of Reynor here, just being able to hold and... I mean, it didn't look easy, but... And even launching aggression here, I like his play. SKillous did feel this coming, though, and is in a good spot against it.
Base might be quickly canceled as he gives chase to the center of the map. It almost looks like he's doing it on... I guess he's just threatening...
Poor Zerglings.
It's very dangerous to threaten a base trade that is like a 1-for-1 literal base trade against Zerg when you move on to their creep, basically. Like, that's what kind of deters you from it. So I actually thought that Reynor was going to go after the 4th, at least with some amount of lings, get that cancel. He does not, so the 4th actually going to finish up with a decent bit of health, perhaps a shield bagger to help out as well. SKillous also wisely taking more minerals out. I think he needs to not be up against his own choke. But he's trying to find the army, I think, at this point, to try and get some action before Reynor is really ready to go. And he has missed it. Slash is now doing this threatening base trade. Oh, there it is. All right. But is this really going to work out for the guy with Mass Stalker on to creep against Ling, Baneling, Roach Ravager? I don't know.
I don't think so. I mean, Reynor, his army just deals so much damage so quickly. It really does. And these Stalkers, even though they're nimble and flexible, they just don't have that big punch. These Banelings getting some sick connections. Oh my goodness. Big, juicy connections. And Reynor's still sitting pretty with 189 supply here. And yeah, he kept all his drones alive so far as well. And he just kind of wanders back home with the rest of his army. And he's got a lot of it still alive.
He does. So the 3rd base, I think, was just straight up bops. Hardly anything left back there to help defend. And SKillous now working on his last army, which is now half the army supply of Reynor. That's going to be a 2-1 in Reynor's favor. SKillous, I mean, he tried aggression twice, a very different aggression, and I actually really did quite like the idea of the 3rd game here, but yeah, the aggression's not really working out for him so well. The Adepts was just they had potential, I think, but that was just terrible in that way. But then it was kind of almost false potential. I got suckered into this idea that the 3-base attack was going to work against someone who took a 4th base at the gold, and Reynor just made it look so easy. The only reason he had trouble was that he was larva blocked. So otherwise, he would have actually, I think, handled that no problem, no sweat.
And I'm like remembering that moment as well, like when that Oracle killed those 6 drones, and I was like, oh, that's not bad, you know, for an Oracle. And then it was like these Lings getting 4 probes killed on the other side of the map as well, and then info and what have you, and it's just like, I wonder how that build, because I wonder how that build lines up when everything connects and you don't take that damage, because maybe it just needs little things like that to go your way. But yeah, I think Reynor was handling the fights pretty nicely and didn't drone up too much, and the lair was nice and late for him as well. Like, he didn't make these investments that didn't come online just yet, and it was like, okay, he's just handling it well. But yeah, those queens all being at the front, I mean, they needed to be there, but yeah, can't let your money bank up that high against somebody that's obviously microing very nicely with their stalkers.
Yeah, that's the dangerous part for sure, of having that defense earlier on, I suppose. Basically, bling only. It's very effective. You get the surround or you don't get stasis trapped, but that's when suddenly you look back on the larva and you realize you don't have any, and then you actually lose. It does 100% happen even after a spectacular start. But Reynor stops that from happening and thus is on his game-winning match map. It's going to be on Hecate. I was trying to say, SKillous' aggression not really working out, so perhaps a return back to defense, which just barely worked out for him in game 1, but technically was his victory.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy victory at all, was it? Like, he definitely worked for it, and it was a bit of a nail-biter until the end. But yeah, so far, Reynor's looked very good when it comes to just defense. Just very good. The boy's quick, you know? There's that nice little clip from Gamers 8 where it's like, you see his keyboard and stuff. I've even taken like videos in the past where I go through the gamers. It's one thing I love, just seeing how fast StarCraft players are. But Reynor, he's pretty much second to none in that department. And yeah, making him struggle, making him worry and panic early on, it's very difficult to do. And he's really been showcasing that he's very good on that defensive front. Also very good on the aggressive. But SKillous at least did manage to hold that one and win that one.
Barely. Yeah, if Reynor was any greedier or any, worse in general, I suppose, I really feel like SKillous' plan could have had some bite to it, or perhaps if he could have hit it somehow a little bit more. But yeah, it actually ended up turning to Ash before him. We are almost ready as the players getting the correct races. But SKillous is on his last life in the upper bracket, so it's done really well in the European regionals so far. If he falls, I believe he falls to face Wayne. And I can never do these things correctly. It should be easy, but it never is.
Let me have a quick peep.
Either Wayne or Christiana, all right? Round 2, match 4. Oh, it's Christiana. I figured it out.
That's definitely doable for him, for sure. Like, definitely doable. I mean, Christiana's been on a bit of a spree recently. Did very good in one of the recent weeks. Well, if it wasn't for those damn dastard Terrans stopping him and, being kind of broken on this patch, I don't know if you saw that tweet from him, like, then he would have taken down Clem very easily. But damn, that patch is just giving Clem that little edge against him that he's after, Oh, dreadful. Anyhow, getting into Hecate over here, spawning over as the Blue Zerg in the northeast side is Basilisk's Reynor.
I'm giggling at your giggle. In the bottom left, it is SKillous. Your giggle at trying to pronounce the maps correctly reminds me of a brand new experience I had in Japan, Nemu.
Oh.
I went to an onsen for the first time. That is...
An onsen?
The hot spring baths. Public baths.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, where you get completely naked.
How was it?
And just well, here's the thing, right? I don't know if anyone else has this experience. Maybe I'm just American and we're prudes, but basically that giggle you had trying to pronounce Hecate correctly, you know, as smoothly and confidently as possible was me, you know, disrobing in front of strangers. We were just like, yeah. But actually, after the first time, you got completely used to it, and it was no big deal whatsoever.
I had a similar experience very recently. So I took my little boy to a swim hall, like a swimming pool and stuff. And you know, I'm British, and I've lived in England for a lot of my time. And Swedes, they're ruthless, man. They just get naked, all of them. My boy has never seen so much penis in his life, and you know, at one point he like pointed and just said, "Penis." I'm like, oh my goodness, like, yeah, I'm not used to this. Like back in my day when I was young, everybody was wearing swim trunks, you know, in the showers and stuff, and yeah, it was a crazy experience. I was not ready for these Swedes.
Yeah, I think Swedes came into one of the hotel public baths, actually, and I was like, of course they would. They're totally used to this. But I don't know, in my days, the gym, you know, the locker room for the ladies was us trying to, like, somehow get our bra on underneath our t-shirt.
Yeah.
You know, never get fully disrobed. So that's the American gym experience. It's a bunch of Europeans, but just, you know, Swedes in chat, and they're just scoffing at our prudity, I suppose. Prudence?
Yeah, but I can absolutely yeah, after a bit I was totally fine with it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, definitely an experience, so I can absolutely you know, I'm with you, Zombie Gov. I feel that this game will be
little
yeah, oh yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, never felt so never felt so much like a teenager all over again, like 13, like, ooh, what's going on? But yeah, this game will be a Stargate again for SKillous. Oh, I like casting with you.
Just a 13-year-old demo.
Yeah, oh my god, I'm blushing.
It's good. It's good. Yeah, I miss casting with you guys. All right. So what's happened on Hecate here? Totally normal openers, in fact. So, I mean, I do feel like it's kind of up to SKillous, right? Like, his game win was on a knife's edge, whereas Reynor's have been fairly convincing. So, SKillous maybe back to the defense, or has the third aggressive tactic up his sleeve.
And, you know, this is like the first game that Reynor has taken damage from these. Oh, I say taken damage, but he managed to catch them off guard just once is all it takes, and they are cleaned up. And how many drones? Okay, 0. I don't know how Reynor is doing this, but because this looks like it should do a lot, but he's been pretty on point with just defense throughout the series. Like, it's just great play out of him.
On the counter, of course, the Oracle is keeping the third base, and the pylon, I guess, would be the usual target. Safe, but Reynor is still playing very well. SKillous does look to be returning back to his first game build order, I believe. He did go... Well, actually, no, he went Forge first on that one. My mistake. He had a very fast +1. But he's going Robo first here. Still got all 4 gases. Obviously still going up to 3 bases, but we'll see what after.
No, absolutely. Like, that was quite a few links being lost for a pylon, of all things. You know, it definitely slows down shield batteries coming there later on and things like that, and it does feel like it can poke again. And unless oracles are over there, then dealing with these lings can be tricky. And you do see that Reynor is lining up more lings across the map, just being a nuisance. And maybe that third could be under threat, unless Spirit really respects what's going on. And he does add on more adepts here, so he is respecting it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, not enough lings really threatening the natural either. So good defense so far, but the Oracle's unsuccessful in their attempt to find any further damage. In fact, one almost losing its life. Not quite, though. I mean, SKillous, he's working on the Immortals again, but without that Forge, we are seeing a little bit more of a short-term vision from the Protoss, rather than that long-term that we saw in Game 1. It's going to be kind of an interesting attack, though, right? Like a 3-base non-Twilight Council upgrade attack, but not, well, because that also would be Twilight Council. Like, there's the Resident Enclave's Immortal follow-up to the Resident Enclave's build. That might look like this start as well, but this is actually like an Immortal Sentry attack on 3 bases. No charge lots, no Blink Stalkers, no Resident Enclaves, just Robo and Gateways.
Kind of cool. Like, definitely a blast from the past, isn't it? Like, this is the kind of build that you could have seen a long time ago. And maybe it can pack a punch. I mean, Reynor's droned up like crazy this game, and he's been good about it too, like constantly dealing a little bit of damage here and there. Resources lost tab is very much in his favor, which is kind of weird. So he's been able to get away with a lot of this. I'm just curious, how is this going to go? Because I look at this measly little Protoss force, and I don't know how this is going to end up for SKillous, but I'm ready to close my eyes. And so far, it's shut down by just queens, which
I think, is this not the attack that like Creator did versus Scarlet or someone? Like there was a GSL game where someone literally just walked into the natural on Hecate, I'm pretty sure, and was like, Protoss units! And the Zerg said, nothing, nada, and it won. And even though the Queens have initially dealt with it, Lings are still required, and they're having trouble now with the force field on the ramp. The War Prism's still alive and able to micro, or is it? The Immortal does go down. Sentry's also starting to fall. I mean, there could have been more micro. Yeah, it does look like this is going to be a hold for Reynor anyway.
And +1 is about to finish Reynor. He's also got a Hydralisk Den done. And I mean, if there's one thing that Sentry Immortal really doesn't fare well against, it's a lot of Ling, a lot of Bane, a lot of Hydra, and he's getting all those things ready. Oh, that was not what SKillous was looking for behind it. He is on 66 probes, but tech-wise, he's only got one upgrade done in this game, which is Warp Gate. That is not what you want. Not what you want at all.
That's a very rough statement to make, 100%. As I said, like there's definitely a game out there where I believe the same build was done to great success, mind-boggling success. It was literally just the Protoss showed up and the Zerg had to tap out. But that was what could happen on the flip side, which was that Reynor held with, well, I want to still say primarily Queens. Obviously the Lings were necessary, but and further mistakes here. SKillous rallies an Immortal across the field. That's gone. That's dead.
And that's like when it's already going bad, that's just the kind of thing that for an emotional fella, that just, you know, you shake your head, you're like, oh no, it's happening again. And it's like, oh, it really sort of is. And that flood of Reynor, like the amount of units that he has alive, and, you know, Reynor hasn't not tried to get damage done. He really has tried. It's just Reynor's been very good about where he has his defensive units. And the amount of blue that is charging across the map right now is a scary fleet, and all that gas being used on 26 Banes and 3 Ravages. Oh my goodness. That's a big Zerg getting ready to just flood this Protoss base here.
Oh, no Spotlight Council upgrades, by the way. Charge about 20 seconds away from finishing. +1, maybe 30. Disruptor number 1 is on the way. It's not even going to be out. Stasis Trap ineffective as well, and those High Templars looked like they were threatening Storm. They don't actually have it, so they turn Americons that are hardly helpful in this fight.
Look at the resources lost tab. It's like, is it 7k for the 8k for the Protoss? I mean, 9k for the Protoss. I mean, it's not normal.